Welcome back to Edge of Indy. Hey, we got a great show for you today. We're welcoming back Brackets for Good and the winner of the brackets, Neurohope. We also have Midtown Indy, a group dedicated to the economic vitality of downtown Indianapolis neighborhoods. All this today on The Edge.
Your audio and video source featuring Indianapolis tech trends, marketing industry champions, and business innovation. This is Edge of Indy. Broadcasting from Edge Media Studios. Let's get today's conversation started.
Well, welcome back, Indy. Hey, if you haven't come across this show before, we certainly welcome you. We'd love for you to check out all the shows that we've been doing. We air this show, Edge of Indy, each and every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So what we do here on the show is we focus on local Indianapolis entrepreneurs, innovators, movers, and shakers here in Indianapolis and Indiana. We feature people and organizations that make Indianapolis a great place to work, live, and visit. So we champion this mantra often is choose local and choose local often. That's what Edge of Indy is all about. I'm your host, Aaron Sparks. I'm the CEO of Site Strategics, as well as Edge Media Studios, where we're broadcasting from. And to my right is Brittany Simpson. She's the Director of Marketing Services at Site Strategics. How are you doing, Brittany?
Hi. That's a great start. You got through all the words and everything today.
Without a bobble.
High five. Good job.
Thanks so much.
Good job.
Well, I mean, we're drinking here, so it's always a great, it just loosens everything.
I wasn't
kidding.
I wasn't going to tell anyone, but since you did.
Well, I mean, it's bound to happen, right? I mean, the odds are that something's going to happen where a beverage gets popped on Edge of Indy.
When I think of Wednesdays at 3 p.m., I think a little bit of Chardonnay.
Now, you can't get away with that on Indy Style, now, can you? Or maybe they do.
We don't know what they do there.
Well, as uncomfortable as this is, let's introduce our guest here. We've got a return visitor, Matt Duncan, co-founder and deputy director of Brackets for Good. Sir, how are you doing today?
Awesome. I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having us back.
I like your orange shirt today.
Thank you. Well, Brackets for Good brand is very orange, so I'm either a street pylon or rocking the brand one way or another.
Can't miss you.
That's right.
Yeah, when you're on the street, I mean, you've got like safety colors going. Right?
I know that we're the only people that has the orange color to stand out, so it works.
I'm just looking for the chuck hole that's actually behind you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm in Indianapolis, so you never know.
My God. Well, to my left actually is the winner of this year's Brackets for Good, Chris Leeuw, founder of Neurohope. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing awesome. So thank you for having me on.
You're more than welcome. Welcome to the studio.
Welcome to the Edge.
Hey, you're the winner of Brackets for Good. The Brackets for Good is the challenge winner, Chris from Neurohope. Tell us a little bit about how the tournament went for you, and give us your experience. Most importantly, let's understand Brackets for Good again, real quick. Matt, sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll put you on the spot, but we'll go back around.
You're in a timeout for a second.
Okay.
Hold that
I'll just sit over here and drink my coffee.
Think about the question he just asked you for the next time.
So Brackets for Good, we're a nonprofit here in Indianapolis, and we host an online fundraising tournament that's modeled after the college basketball tournament. So instead of college basketball teams and college basketball teams playing basketball, we have nonprofit organizations that are matched up head-to-head to out-fundraise one another, where 1 point equals $1. Organizations keep whatever they raise throughout the tournament, and our overall tournament winner receives a cash prize donation from our title sponsor, which this year, for the 4th year in a row, is Leeuw Financial Advisors. So $10,000 in addition to all the funds that Neurohope raised was also contributed to them this year.
How did it go overall this year?
Incredible. Indy raised nearly a little over $750,000, a little shy of that, I'm sorry.
Wow.
We had an Indiana tournament as well, so all combined, over $1 million was raised for organizations across the state. So a ton of awareness, a lot of great marketing and promotion from these organizations, kind of highlighting what they do, how they're impacting people's lives, where dollars go that donors are donating back to these organizations. So a ton of fun. A lot of organizations hopefully received a ton of exposure in addition to those dollars that they raised throughout the tournament.
Chris, I want to turn to you for a second. I told you ahead of this interview that I was going to dote on you a little bit because your story is awesome. Like, you have an awesome story. So can you give us a little bit of background about you? Tell us a little bit about Neurohope, and then we're going to dive into how you succeeded so much on this tournament, because what you did was incredible. I don't know how you did it, but we want to find out how you did it.
Thank you. Yeah, so my organization is Neurohope. We are a rehabilitation clinic for neurologic injury, particularly after insurance has expired. Because neurologic injury, we're talking spinal cord, brain injury, stroke. Those injuries take an incredible long amount of time of rehab, and in the healthcare system, insurance just gets capped quick. So we specialize on helping individuals long term. We have private pay rates. We also have real aggressive therapy, and I started it with a physical therapist. We opened 3 years ago because we both saw this giant void in healthcare. That's because I am a quadriplegic. Oh, my Lord. You look at me, you're like, what are you talking about? But I'm a quadriplegic. I still have a lot of paralysis on all 4 limbs. I had a spinal cord injury 7 years ago. Was initially completely paralyzed from the neck down, totally paralyzed. And every spinal cord injury is totally different. But even mine, like there's a spectrum of them.
Right.
Mine was obviously less severe than a lot of other ones, but still, 2 months after my injury, I could still only move a couple fingers, move my foot. I was discharged to a nursing home, still totally paralyzed. I needed a sip and puff wheelchair. I didn't know if I was ever going to get any better.
Right.
Doctors really didn't know how much I'd get better. 6 months after my injury, I could stand for a couple seconds, still couldn't use my arms. And I went to an aggressive rehab clinic all the way in Utah that really changed my thinking, blew my mind. It had all these different therapy interventions. I was able to go there every day for 2 years, rehab every day, and relearn every movement. And came back here to Indiana just really determined to try to start something like that here. So we've been successful to do that over the last several years. And we just moved into a new gym. We've joined the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation Neuro Recovery Network. So we have a lot of really high-tech therapy interventions. And we're trying to really just complete the continuum of care after inpatient and outpatient. So that's the spiel on Neurohope. That's my Cliff's Notes version. Healthcare here is awesome.
Yeah.
We're just saying, like, there needs to be more after you get discharged. And
Longer. A longer option for sure.
And you're literally demonstrating and providing hope to people that may very well be looking at their challenges as always being that same challenge. You're actually opening the doors with a heck of a lot of partners to be able to create much better support for them. And it's not just physical. There's so much that's on the mental side as well.
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely. I mean, these injuries change your life.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, in every way. I mean, I still live with my spinal cord injury a lot.
Right.
So below my neck, I don't have any feeling of temperature, texture. It feels like my body's asleep. Even with pins and needles. That's what I feel like from my neck down.
Wow.
My left arm is still mostly paralyzed. My shoulder's dislocated permanently. Not a lot of neurologic return came in that shoulder.
Right.
Every movement I make, I have to think very consciously about. It's just strange. I mean, I still have a lot of the issues with my spinal cord injury. So it's lifetime maintenance, and that's one of the things we do as well. So.
And that's where I was going, is that making sure that people have that, not only that hope, but also that support system, because you can feel very isolated and completely cut off from the rest of the world going through what you've gone through. And to be able to have not only the physical support, but also just the champions to be able to help guide people on a better mental state, right? I mean, that's also what you guys provide.
We do, yeah, and we've noticed a lot of the patients and clients we have, I mean, it's almost a support system when they come, and they want to be there. A lot of times in rehab, individuals, they complain about it, they going through the motions, but no, people want to be there, and you see families coming out of the woodwork and then helping, and I mean, I owe a lot of it to my family as well. So I mean, even during my personal rehab, I was 28 years old when it happened. I was on a kayaking trip with 2 of my best friends, and we were at Blues Canoes down in Edinburgh, if you've ever been there by chance.
No, not yet.
It's an awesome place. We were kayaking down this river. We come across this giant bridge, and we were jumping off this bridge into the water. I climbed up to the top of this bridge. It's like 50 feet up. And I jumped feet first. The water was deep. It wasn't overly dangerous, but someone jumped in right after me and just snapped my neck. It was like a light switch. And so the rehab process started. Instantly you think your life's over.
Yeah.
You literally think your life's over. But so my mother and I went to Salt Lake City. She was my caregiver. I couldn't feed myself, for 2 years, almost 17 months we were there every day. So, and just slowly kind of getting things back. I mean, these injuries just take a long time. So That's what we're seeing, and it's pretty awesome seeing some individuals that are in the same situation that I was that we're helping, and even other individuals that aren't so fortunate in their recovery, just need that long-term place to stay active and help their health. So.
Well, it's no wonder that you won the tournament. Your team raised over $90,000 and did a great job of raising awareness of your own work as well. So you got to let us know how you did that as an inspiration for other organizations that contributed into Brackets for Good.
Yeah, so I was telling Matt earlier. So we did this last year. We did this last year as well. We got all the way to the Final Four. And
Philanthropic Four.
Philanthropic Four. Thanks for the correction.
There we go.
So we lost, and we found, but we couldn't believe we got that far because we're a tiny charity. I mean, we have seven employees. But we do have a big support system. And this year we almost didn't do the tournament because it took so much out of us. We loved it. It's not like we just didn't have the time. We were like, well, let's take a year off. But we moved into a new gym with some funding that we received from the state of Indiana, and at the Incrediplex out in Lawrence, a big sports complex. And we said, okay, we want to do an open house showing everyone, and Incrediplex got behind it. They're like, why don't we use this as a kickoff for Brackets for Good? So we got all of our supporters out, and we kind of started taking pledges, and we realized that was the key. The key to win this tournament is you have to really do your work in advance. You have to go out and get pledges for people. You have to say, you have to try to strategically figure out when you're going to play it. So for example, we had coming out of that event, we had like I think $15,000 or $20,000 worth of pledges. But I mean, well, when do you use them? You don't know, And luckily, last year we realized like you use them strategically, and it's set up so intensely that the rounds come to the last second, and you see things pouring in, and eventually you can have people kind of queued up saying, okay, we have these pledges here. You're going to get on a laptop. You're going to get on a laptop. And you kind of got to be like a general, being like, all right. You go. Where are they at? Okay, 3 seconds, and it's intense. It's really intense, especially when we got to the last kind of last round. So
kind of sound like hackers a little bit.
Yeah.
It was intense. Yeah. So we had this giant viewing party for 2 of our rounds at the Incrediplex. We kind of had everyone there, and we had Incrediplex put up the live ticker. That's another thing. The tech that Brackets for Good has, it's awesome. It makes everything so easy. People can donate live. There's live tickers that track the donations real time, makes it intense. Other donors that have donated from other rounds, like a lot of people they pledged. So you asked how we raised so much money. So we actually raised $80,000. Plus we got the 10 from Leeuw.
Still impressive.
Yeah. But so it's like, how did that happen? Well, some of them came out of the woodwork. Like a lot of people, once they donate in earlier rounds, then they get invested in it. And then the next round they're like, oh my gosh, you advanced again. Here's another 100. Or it's like, oh my gosh, we realized that we pledged $1,000. We played it in round 2. But crap, I'm looking at the ticker. You're down. We just gave you another 1,000, and I'm just like, so next thing you know, So, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of pledges.
All these organizations are really investing in you and champion you the entire time. So they're bought in, and they're bought into what you represent, but also it's the entire excitement, the entire momentum of the brackets, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a way to really get your donors out, and it's an outstanding way to fundraise.
Well, Matt, I was going to say back to you, that has to be so rewarding to hear from a participant, the winner, what a great experience it is, and just knowing that this keeps working more and more every year. It has to be really rewarding for you to hear, right?
Absolutely, but I think, the rewarding part for me in hearing this whole story is Chris's story and the work that they're doing in the city and impacting other people's lives. For me, I'm kind of a lifelong learner, and I think everyone that's involved with Brackets for Good is interested in what's happening in our community. And I think for us, the ability to learn about these injuries and these situations that happen to people, and that there's organizations out there that are providing options for individuals that are affected by one of these neurological injuries or spinal cord injuries, like it's incredibly impactful to know that there's someone in your corner here in our own state that can help assist you if something like that happens. And, it is exciting to hear that they're kind of looking at fundraising as a game and as a strategy and thinking about it as a sense of urgency and pulling people back and rallying them around
and hacking
the cause.
System.
Well, I mean, look,
there's no hacking the system going on.
Fundraising is
really
hard.
Strategically placing mouse clicks.
Exactly.
See? all how you look at it.
Exactly. But fundraising is really hard. And anybody that's in that business understands that it's really challenging to get people behind your mission and to get them to give their hard-earned money in support of your cause. And anything that we can do to increase that support, the awareness is huge. I mean, I think it's really important. But creating a team around the movement that you are trying to see come to fruition, I hope is really rewarding, that you've got people that are now getting excited about fundraising, and maybe they're not always that excited. They love the impact, but having something that's kind of intense and edge of your seat in fundraising is pretty new, and that's exciting to us as well.
Gamifying the entire thing gets everybody bought in, and you've got the rivalry that can really take a life of its own. But it's no longer the tough ask. You're setting the entire thing up on its ear and saying, all right, let's just all get around this. And it gives the stage to be able to hear the whys of different organizations in a whole different light.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is every organization needs funds to operate. They need funds to grow. They need and growth is, impacting more individuals across their mission. And knowing that there's a sense of urgency, which always doesn't happen in fundraising. There could be an event that's coming up or other things like that, but knowing that this is a very time-sensitive campaign, I also think hopefully helps with those asks and gets people more rallied behind the excitement of what's happening online. Absolutely. Yeah.
So in what ways can our viewers and listeners help those that you serve, people with traumatic brain and spinal cord injuries? How can our listeners and our viewers and our audience post a fundraising like this be able to connect with you and be able to help?
Well, I mean, it's about raising awareness, I suppose. I mean, that's the main thing. Everyone sort of assumes that there's no void in the healthcare system because you get hurt. We have amazing healthcare facilities here, and like when I got hurt, I just assumed that at least I'm in a place where I'm going to get the care I need.
Right.
And through no fault of the healthcare providers, but that care doesn't. I mean, a couple of weeks after your injury, there's nothing there, so everyone just assumes, like most people, then they just go home. And for my situation, they were going to send me home in a power wheelchair.
Right.
And you assume that continuum of care is there. So a lot of it's that's what a lot of people don't understand. So it's raising awareness. It's I'm just trying to, for people that really feel for what we're doing, it's trying to connect to the right individuals that can help grow our mission, because a big part of what we do is community support. So because we offset the true cost of therapy. So that means we have to fundraise for every person we see, because we offer really cheap rates. If you go to insurance for outpatient, they'll charge you $300 or $400 an hour.
Yep.
And right now we charge $50.
Unbelievable.
So
Gosh.
we fundraise to make up for that cost. So it's raising awareness, and anyone that has been touched by it.
I told you it was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an incredible story, and I mean, you're practicing what you preach. I mean, you're not only you not only benefited from that support system, but you're wanting to be able to give back. And how often do you hear that? I mean, there's a lot of, when you see these type of organizations, the charitable organizations, people have been touched either individually or by family members, right? But you are literally a living inspiration to be able to share with other paraplegics and other people that have had spinal cord injuries that there is hope. I mean, you're right there. So congratulations to you on what you're doing with Neurohope, and on top of that, just congratulations for Practice Good and be able to win that and be able to rally a team around that. That's fantastic to be able to win. This is how many years have we been doing this?
7 years.
7 years.
Yep.
And this is the highest fundraising this year.
Last year we had a national tournament which raised $1 million in and of itself, but we still raised more than we did last year, just minus the national tournament.
Roger that.
It was great. Across the 13 markets, nearly $3 million was raised for charities across the country.
Yeah, combining all 13 tournaments held this year, Brackets for Good actually raised nearly $3 million for 605 charities.
That's pretty good, Matt. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
We know Indy can do more, right?
Yeah, I mean.
So here's your call to action, Indianapolis. We expect more of you next year. How can we make that happen?
Yep.
That's a good question. more awareness. Obviously, even awareness for the Brackets for Good tournament is good for all organizations that participate. The other thing that we did in just kind of seeing more organizations step up to the plate, but it's this marrying of the corporate community with the nonprofit community. We introduced community teammates last year, and then this year opened it up for organizations to kind of go out and solicit a partner on their own. But more organizations that get behind these charities and create awareness and get their employees activated and engaged. And engaged doesn't necessarily follow with dollars. It can just be the awareness of what organizations exist in their backyard.
Yeah, a lot of times that actually sometimes is even more powerful because every person has a social wake, a tribe of followers, right? And you can activate your tribe and be able to lift up all these organizations far beyond what they could do themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's a lot of individuals out there that have different organizations that they support kind of on an ongoing basis. What I think Brackets for Good provides is an opportunity for someone to engage with a new organization for not necessarily an ongoing monthly contribution, but to be able to start testing the waters and developing a relationship with a new organization. And we want to be an on-ramp to philanthropy, whether that is a first-time ever giver or a first-time giver to those organizations. So 34% of the donations were from first-time givers.
Really?
Well, and you think about
it increased about
we
a
had a lot,
percentage
too.
from last year.
You said you've been, it's 3 years now, right? So
This is the second year we've done
okay,
it.
so you're a relatively new organization. So if somebody who usually gives to other organizations wasn't aware of you before this, then things like, challenges like this are great for plugging into new organizations that you might not have been aware of this time last year. So, gosh, it makes so much sense.
And it gives you a chance to reach out and find corporate help, corporate sponsors as well. That was huge for us. I have to give Hensley Legal Group a shout out because they were one of our corporate sponsors and they were awesome. They had a little thing with their internal employees where if all their employees would donate a couple dollars every day, they could wear jeans to work. And those things came in. Like we were looking at it, and if you could see them, and we'd see these like $2, $5, $2, $5, like just ringing up all day. And I was like, Hensley, you know what I mean? Those things add up. So it was awesome. So
yeah, it doesn't have to be large donations. No. It's just that group dynamic.
Yeah,
and
it gives you an excuse to go out there and try to reach donors, try to reach. Yeah. It gives. So as a philanthropist, when you're trying to raise money, you get tired of asking people for money, and this was a good way to find a new way to ask people for money, but in an engaging way, and say like, look, this is what we're doing, and it gets them involved, and it's a fun way to do it.
Several organizations, I was just going to jump in here real quick. Several organizations did an awesome job of highlighting kind of their personality behind their organization, because I think sometimes that's hard when you're either addressing very serious subject matter, but they found really creative ways to tell their story. And I think one of the reasons that Neurohope had a ton of success, and hopefully was a reason that they attracted a lot of new donors, was Chris was doing a lot of video, and he was bringing people into the clinic. He was showing the equipment. He was talking about how much it costs to buy that and where your dollars are going, and seeing the people affected by these injuries. That just brings it all back home for the donor. So it's a great opportunity to learn, and it's awesome work from your promotion throughout the tournament that really kind of helped carry the weight and hopefully added a lot of those new donors and dollars into their whole contribution.
Did they get to wear jeans?
I assume so, because they donated a lot throughout the day.
So
we saw those $5, $2 things rack up.
Okay, so hopefully they got to wear jeans.
Hensley's awesome. They're really good. I get a sense here, you've been doing it for 7 years here. I get the sense that you're going to start teaching charities how to actually activate and really put together briefs and some info sessions of how to plug in and get the most out of it. But I guarantee that charities, whenever Charities of Good, Brackets of Good comes around, or good, my Lord.
It's all good.
It's all good.
It's all good, all of them.
I bet they're really saying, I'm so glad for this period of time so we can plug into a gamified environment as opposed to continually asking for the fundraising. It's almost like an oasis for charities to be able to have fun as opposed to the constant plug for more fundraising, wouldn't you say?
And they get into it too. That's another thing that I'll mention. So it was funny. So there a lot of people were donating throughout the tournament, and after every round, my phone would just blow up with messages of people that were just following along from home. They're like, we were following along, we saw, and these are people that they may not have even donated that round, but like when we won on one of the last donations. It was really close. It was intense. Like literally, I thought sure we had lost, and then the last time, and as we were watching it, the tallies that went through, and the whole room erupted. It really got my staff involved as well, and it got everyone involved. But yeah, my phone just blew up for people that were following along, and they were just like, that was intense. And then when they're following along and they get it close, what do? They add another $50, and then that just adds up. So I was telling Matt. So going into the championship round, I got a couple pledges from that since we got to the championship that we're going to total like $25,000. This was in the last round.
Jeez.
And I was like, we might be able to win this with 25,000. I was like, we got a shot to win this. Our opponents ended up having 40,000 in the last round.
Wow.
But we ended up with 42.
Well,
so I was anticipating like 32 and I was like, maybe 32 will win it. But again, why I mentioned that is because all those other random thousands of dollars came in that just
put you over the top.
It's just like, where did that $7,000 come from? But it's like,
it's a lot of jeans.
Yeah,
it's so many pairs of jeans. That's
people
true.
are watching and they're following along. So
hey, you know what? It just dawned on me that this would be great to be able to do a live broadcast and almost do this kind of brackets for good a night of the finals and be able to bring the studio out and do this type of commentary live.
It's crazy. And for us, we're watching all the different markets. So we had 8 this year that finished in the Eastern time zone, and then it moved over to Central, and then our final one in Mountain time zone. So
a long night, huh?
Yeah, it is. These are, a lot of fun for us, though. Yeah. At the same time, it's we're learning about these organizations across the country, watching how they fundraise and watching how they're telling their story. It's really exciting and really cool that I think organizations across the country kind of pay attention to the tournament as a whole.
Yeah.
We kind of have a war room set up, and we've got analytics going and just knowing where everything's at, and we're screaming and cheering too. So it's kind of weird to think of fundraising as maybe a spectator sport, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually went out for dinner one night while the tournament was going on, and some organization that had participated in the past got eliminated, but they said, last night, which was Friday, like our whole family, we had the tournament up and we were watching it come down as we were eating dinner, and to hear those kind of things is just unreal. To know that an organization that got eliminated, that raised funds, that had a lot of success in the tournament, is still invested. And their whole family is watching it. It's really cool to hear those stories, and we'd love to. We kind of hesitated on live streaming the round ends just because we're also confirming a lot of scores coming through and just making sure everything's on the up and up. But we go live on Facebook afterward and try to recap what happened, and we're always just like,
I don't know. We got to talk. Maybe there's something.
There's something for sure. Absolutely.
Well, congratulations again to Neurohope, and we certainly wanted to give you a congratulatory drink. And we also had Daredevil there on the glass, so that's another contributor to Brackets.
That's right.
And I'm drinking wine.
So
I feel like I need to carbonate this and spray it around the room.
Don't you dare.
Next visit.
This wouldn't be good.
Neurohope,
thank you
very
very
to
much.
Brackets for Good.
Cheers.
Yes, cheers.
No awkward silence there whatsoever.
Everyone, I hope you're all drinking
At
as you
home.
watch this.
Come on. All right. So you want to make sure that you get a hold of these two great organizations. For Brackets for Good, go over to bfg.org. Fantastic URL. For Neurohope, you want to go over to neurohopewellness.org. We have that on the screen as well. Twitter, Brackets for Good, as well as at Neurohope. On Facebook, Brackets for Good, and Neurohope. Just search one word, you'll be able to find them. Instagram, Brackets for Good, and Neurohope. So
it's easy to find.
They've got all the socials right there. Any final words for our audience regarding your two organizations and moving forward, and to charities that want to get involved this time next year? Well, maybe not this time, a little bit earlier.
Well, that would be too late.
That would be too late.
Yeah, registration's always open at bfg.org. Any organization that's new or is looking to improve their kind of footprint digitally, get a better audience, look to test some new marketing initiatives, we'd love to talk to you. We'd love for you to register as well to be considered for the next year's tournament. And just thanks again for the opportunity to bring our Indianapolis champion on and get some well-deserved attention for this organization that's, having such a big impact. And just can't thank you guys enough.
Oh, you're more than welcome. More than welcome. Well, you're always welcome back this time with next year's winner, and we're certainly going to be championing you all the way through the competition. So you're doing great work here in Indianapolis. So keep it up.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Coming up, we're going to be talking to our weird and wacky Paul Poteet as he brings us some stories from the Edge. Coming up right after this.